my channel, welcome back for another YouTube video. And today I'm bringing you something completely different. As you guys have seen from the title, this is going to be more of a conversation that I want to start. It's also going to be answering some of your questions that you've asked me on Instagram and just kind of unpicking a lot of different issues regarding body positivity, weight, diet culture, health, all of that stuff. I want to just really quickly start out before I even get into anything by saying this is a little bit of a trigger warning for any of you guys that will be affected by terms such as weight loss or just those kinds of conversations. I obviously have a moral obligation to kind of let you guys know that that is what this video will entail. If that stuff negatively impacts you, don't watch this video. Honestly, it's not worth it. It's just a chat really, and if your mental well-being, you know, is maybe more sensitive or delicate to those issues, please don't watch this video, as I really don't want to negatively impact you in any way. However, tagging on from that, I do just want to make it very clear, this video is not a how-to guide on how to lose weight. It's not giving you tips and tricks on like things you can, you know, workouts in the gym. There is so much amazing stuff out there on YouTube and Instagram and all of that good stuff, blogs, if that's what you're looking for. I'll try and leave some of my favorites below if that is something that you want, but that's not what this video is about. This video is definitely a much more in-depth look at how we probably view ourselves. It's a lot more of a personal video, and it's also answering some of your questions that you guys have for me. So with all of that being said, hello, my name is Georgia. If you are new to this channel, lovely to meet you. This is probably not my typical style of video. I tend to talk about clothes a lot. I tend to do a lot of haul videos, the odd vlog, you know. But my 2020 goal was definitely to make this channel more personal, and also I feel like I do have a bit of a responsibility to discuss these issues. I get a lot of the same questions, and it's about time that I kind of spoke about it. That is why I'm sat in a neon swimming costume. This is a response to a comment that I was recently left on one of my videos, and also a response to comments that I get quite regularly. Don't worry, I'm not like giving, you know, light to the haters, but I do just want to use it as a springboard to discuss so many other issues. This is going to be all over the shop. It's going to be a ramble. It's going to be like my thoughts just kind of coming out, and maybe not the most articulate when it comes to this conversation, but I feel like I have a point and I want to talk about it anyway. So I thought, why not bust out my bright pink neon swimming costume in February, because why on earth not, and kind of talk about these issues. I just thought it was quite funny that I should do it in a swimming costume. Why not? Like, let's just go for it. And this also has a lot to do with a video that I posted last year that you guys seem to really quite like, and it was a lot more open and honest. So I will leave that video below if you know what it is I'm talking about, and we will get onto that in a little bit. If you guys are not already subscribed to my channel, then I would really appreciate it if you went down there and subscribed, turn the bell on if you want to be notified when I upload, and also if you checked me out on Instagram. Yeah, I do want to have more of these conversations on here. If you like this style of video, please let me know. It really does make a difference. I like to hear what you guys are enjoying, and I do want to be more real and talk about more important things that are going on, not only with myself but also I think in society as a whole. So with all of that being said, let's get straight on into today's video. I'm so nervous. Okay guys, so I have a little notebook with just some points that I want to talk about, just because I don't want to lose too much of my train of thought. I'm going to start out by just saying this video is only going to be from my experiences. That is as a I'm 24 actually in like 4 days, but 23, 24-year-old girl. Yeah, it's just my experiences. I can't speak from that of maybe like somebody else, so everything is very personal, and that I just want to make super clear. We all have different experiences and go through, you know, our own journeys. So that's just my first thing that I want to say. I also want to make another little bit of a comment and just say this video is not necessarily about health. I think there's a difference between, you know, health and fitness and body positivity. I do recognize that. You know, I'm not promoting sitting at home and maybe having like 3 pizzas a day and never stepping foot in a gym. That's not what I'm promoting. What the conversation I'm trying to have and unpack is definitely more of a like struggle with one's self-identity and those kinds of issues. So yeah, I recognize that some people get a little bit fraught when people talk about body positivity as ignoring health. I'm just not having that conversation. I feel like that's for another day. Honestly, these videos could go on forever. I have so much I want to say that maybe I could do a series on this. I would really love to do that. And yeah, that's just my overall synopsis. Firstly, why have I titled the video this? I've titled the video this because I actually get quite a lot of these kinds of comments, either like you're fat, or I really think my favorite one I think was one I got last summer, and it was like, I'm concerned about you, I think you should go to your doctor, you know, you look like you're not the right size for your age, and like you've put on weight, and did it like this whole long rant. And it was like, you don't really care about my well-being, you're just trying to be a little bit nasty. And this isn't so much a response to them. You're always going to get haters. I think it comes with the territory of this job. You kind of need to learn to roll with the punches, and I'm pretty good at that. But it's more just a comment on society as a whole, and I don't think people realise maybe the negative impacts that come with those comments. I find a lot of them a lot of the time kind of amusing. They don't really have that much of an effect on me, but I did want to use them as a springboard to talk about other issues, particularly this time of the year. I think January is a time when kind of diet culture is rife, you know, new year, new me, all of that. And I think for some people that's a really good thing, and I'm not knocking that. Like, it can really give them motivation and inspiration, and it can be a fantastic source of that. And I think for other people it can actually be quite toxic. Yeah, it can kind of make you think that you've not done enough, and that you're in a rut, and that you need to start afresh, and that everything's wrong, and just quite a negative impact on some people. So you kind of need to weigh up where you are and decide whether or not you want to involve yourself in that kind of conversation regarding, you know, new year, new me, and diet culture and all of that. That's another conversation that I feel like I should leave for another video. Let me know below if you would want to hear my thoughts on all of that stuff. So just super quickly, I'm going to have a little bit of a conversation about me before I get into your questions that you guys have asked me. I've done videos on these topics before. I'm going to leave 2 of my videos below. One was specifically on body positivity that I'll leave a link below, and the other one was a swimwear haul whereby I inserted a piece of footage from I think it was 2018 now, where I had to do a try on haul for swimwear, and I was just really struggling with my image and how I looked in the video, and I never uploaded it, and it was just a really like turbulent, difficult kind of experience. So I'm going to leave a link to both of those below because I feel like you guys might find them quite interesting. They might be able to help you in one way or another. I also just want to point out this concept of like body positivity and feeling really positive. I get so many questions on how do you stay positive, how you stay positive, how do you get your mindset like where, you know, how yours is, blah 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 blah. I think it's really naive to just come on here and talk about it and everybody assume that you're happy all the time 24/7. We're really not. Like, you know, we show our highs, especially a lot of people that do this job, I think, which is just normal. I think that's human nature. And I don't think everyone is going to be able to show all their worst parts online. Like, I'm not expecting anyone to do that because I certainly don't. I am just saying that by using that term, what you're, you know, body positive or self-esteem or like good self-esteem or whatever, you're not feeling that way all the time 24/7. It's totally like this. And I would be giving you guys misinformation if you assumed that I was constantly like, yeah, I'm great, this is fantastic, which obviously is a really, you know, would be brilliant, but that's just not reality. So I just want to also make that a point to remember and remind yourself. Something that I really feel I wanted to discuss is my size. So I am a UK size 12. Sometimes I'm a 10. Sometimes I'm a medium. Sometimes I'm a large. It changes from shop to shop, store to store, item to item, material to material, and fabric to fabric. And that's fine. Like, I think that's another thing that a lot of people kind of have a bit of an issue with. I get a lot of comments like, you're not that size, there's no way you're that size. And it's like, and I know it's not a, you know, a hate comment in any way, but what I'm saying is like, yes I am, and that's fine. Like, there's not a negative association with being anything maybe bigger than a size 8. Like, I think that's something that we also kind of need to break down one way or another. I am that size. I am a 10 to 12, and I feel like on this online platform that really kind of puts me in the middle, if you will. I'm not necessarily in that category that maybe a lot of like other girls are, where they're slimmer or they're naturally that way, or they work out a lot or what have you, maybe sizes like 6, 8, 10. And I'm also not in that camp, I feel, that is necessarily like, you know, plus size. I'm kind of in the middle, and I think this is actually really difficult, kind of an awkward place to be in, just purely because you don't feel like you kind of belong to either side. And this was a point that I really found interesting when I saw Chessie King's collaboration within the style. She got a lot of online hate, pretty much just saying she can't promote body positivity or like loving the skin you're in because she's not a plus size girl. She's a size, I think I could be wrong, she's a UK size 10 to 12. And I just found that a really odd concept, because what they're essentially saying is that you will not have any self-esteem struggles if you're not in a plus size category, which I think is so ignorant and so wrong. So many people have those struggles no matter what, you know, size they are, no matter what their clothes say, like the labels in their clothes say. I just found that a really interesting critique. I think you can struggle with self-esteem issues no matter what your size is. You don't have to fit into a particular camp in order to struggle with your identity or how you look or what you see in the mirror. I also do want to be someone that girls look at. You know, when I was younger, I was very lanky actually. When I was in year 6, I almost grew upwards before I grew any other way. So I suddenly became very tall, a lot taller than a lot of my friends, and I was very kind of like gangly and long. You know, I had no curves, no bum, no boobs, nothing. No little muffin top. And I didn't like that, but I was always very slim. And then as I grew older and went through my teenage years, I definitely, you know, got a little bit plumper, you could say, more voluminous. And I really struggled with that. I think going from you looking at yourself a certain way to a different way was really very difficult. And particularly when I was at university, I struggled really, really badly, because everyone that I lived with and surrounded myself with was, not only were they very small, so they were all, you know, 5'1", 5'2", and I wasn't, they were also extremely slim, you know, naturally very slim girls, like size 4s, and they would all share one another's clothes, and I could never really, you know, be involved in that as well, which I think is another thing, which I think also is another way which builds, you know, relationships and dialogue and conversation, and is like a, you know, a nice thing to do. I was always excluded from that just because my clothes would drown them. Do you know what I mean? Then you kind of think like, oh, well, all my clothes are too big. Oh, they're all a lot smaller than me. And these ideas of kind of like doubt and negativity start to kind of creep into your mind. I love when I get those messages from you guys that say, you know, oh, I've finally been able to find someone that is my size and I can see what the clothes look like on me. You know, this idea that ASOS have recently introduced, I believe they're showing the item of clothing on every single size model. Now, I feel sorry for the brands. That must be the longest experience ever to shoot an outfit in, you know, multiple different sizes. But I think it's a really amazing thing for us to be able to view various body types. I think that's super healthy. I don't think we should ever be accustomed to seeing just one particular body type, whether that's on one end of the scale or the other. I think there really needs to be diversity. Sorry guys, I got a little bit cold, so I've just popped this on. But yeah, I talk about these issues a lot more in other videos that, like I said, I'm going to link below. This idea of sizes anyway, that I think at times can be extremely toxic. I think a lot of young girls focus too much on the size and being a particular size and fitting into a particular number, which is a really unusual concept and something that I think needs to be eradicated. Buy what fits you, buy what looks good on you. You know, I've said it before, go into the shop, pick up a size, look at it and think, oh, does that kind of look like it would fit me? Try it on, don't even look in the label. I mean, I can't imagine now being 17 again, because I'm a little bit older now, with how strong Instagram and social media has become, if that makes any sense. When I was a teenager and when I grew up, obviously we had social media and digital media, but it definitely was not as concentrated as a part of our day as it is now. So I can only imagine what it's like being at school and seeing those images all the time, and maybe being on your phone all the time, or, you know, on platforms such as YouTube, which can be amazing and they can be great things, and they can be great things to open up conversations like this, but I also think they can be extremely dangerous for promoting maybe not so great things. And if you don't have the right frame of mind, you can be very, very, very susceptible to damaging, you know, to seeing damaging things pretty much, you know, that will affect you in maybe the longer term. So yeah, I just think it's like knowing how to navigate these online spaces as well is equally just as important as knowing how to give yourself like just a break, like give yourself a break. You know, we are so harsh on ourselves, and this goes back to what I was saying about January, new year, new me. It's almost like we just say all the things we absolutely want to change and all the things that we need to like work on, rather than like, what have I actually achieved throughout the last year and what is positive and what do I like. So that is kind of just enough of an introduction. Like I've said, I have so much more I want to unpack on this topic, and I do want to turn this into some form of a series, I think. Maybe get on different girls that have experienced different, you know, insecurities or struggles with different aspects of their bodies, and open up this conversation a little bit more. That is something I'm really interested in doing, but I do want to answer your questions because you did ask me quite a few. So I'm going to start with probably one of my fave questions, because I feel like it's something that is never really talked about. And I've been asked about this before, me and Emily were asked about this, and it says, do you worry about your body during sex? So I think, yeah, firstly, yes. Secondly, please find me someone that hasn't at one point or another in their life. And honestly, if you haven't, then mad respect to you. Like, your self-esteem and confidence, I need that in my life. So yeah, secondly, I think it's totally normal. I also think this isn't really a gender issue. I think this is just men and women in general. Like, we both feel different types of ways about different things, and at different times. You might go through a phase in your life where you're super confident and like sure of yourself and in your skin, and like I've, you know, had that. And then you might also go through times where you're like, oh my gosh, don't look at me, like, you know, really insecure. So, you know, yes, I have. I also think it's more, you notice that more than the other person when you're, you know, getting up to that kind of thing. I don't think the other person is at all looking at your little bit of, you know, a pouch you've got, or maybe a little bit of a bingo wing. I really don't think they're noticing it, because I don't notice that on the other person. So, you know, you have to flip that round and think, are they noticing that on me? I think if that is something that they're going to comment on, they are not the person for you. You know, someone should be with you because they love your personality and maybe your sense of humor, and obviously maybe they find you attractive. But to nitpick at your body, like, if anybody ever does that, I really think that's such a red flag. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I have had an incident where somebody whose opinion I cared about in that way did comment on my body in maybe a negative way. I don't think they intended for the comment to come across how it did. I remember putting on a pair of leggings and then being like, you have massive legs, oh my god, your legs are huge, like literally like that. And I think it was just like a kind of just comment that just like rolled off the tongue. Like, I don't even think they thought of it as that big of a deal, but it really did affect me, and like made me kind of go back to square one, because I was in such a good place with how I felt about myself. I suddenly became quite insecure, and throughout that phase of my life I was actually extremely insecure. I remember going on nights out and getting very emotional, you know, in the bathroom, because I felt like nobody maybe found me attractive. And yeah, it can be a bit of a downward spiral when someone that you care about in that way says something negative about your appearance, because it's almost like hits you even harder. You know, when I get these comments online from people I've never met before commenting on my weight, I honestly couldn't care less. But if it was, say, a boy that I had a crush on or really fancied, or someone I was seeing commented on it, I know it would affect me 10, 20, 30 times more. So I think we just have to kind of be aware as well of what we're saying to people, speak in a loving way, in a place that comes from love. But going back to that comment, I really don't think it was said in a negative way. It just kind of had a negative impact on me, which can happen. You know, it's not always the other person's fault. Sometimes it's just how we take things in. But just some tips with that, because I do want to help you. I think firstly, you kind of do have to fully love yourself in order to start, you know, like not giving parts of yourself away, because I don't believe that you really do that during sex. But, you know, in order to start doing that with somebody else, I do think you fully have to be confident in yourself and quite assured of who you are. So that's what I would start out by doing. You know, remind yourself of who you are. I also think, I've said this before, I said this so many times, validate yourself for more than your body. Like, that is key in all of this. You know, our bodies are a vessel. I had a really good quote that I think I've saved. They do amazing things for us, you know. We can like run, we can eat, like we can do all these amazing things, like do sports or whatever it is, but they're a vessel. Like, they're not you, you know. There's so many other things that make up individuals, you know, and validate yourself for other things, not just your exterior. Obviously, I don't think it's always bad to want to feel good and look good. Like, I'm all about it. But what I mean is just remind yourself of other more important things, like maybe your intelligence, like your sense of humour, your ability to be positive, or, you know, the fact that you're a caring person. That is 10 times more important than what size your jeans are. Just, that is one message I really want to make very, very clear. Someone's asked, do you weigh yourself? Yes, I do. Not a lot, really rarely, because it can have a bit of a negative impact on me. But then sometimes it's a good kind of motivational when maybe I have put on a little bit too much weight and I need to go back into the gym. I think that comes down to individuals. I don't think everyone should weigh themselves, because I think for some people it can be a bit of a slippery slope, but then I think for other people it can just be absolutely nothing and they'll forget even what the scales said an hour later. So depends on your personality whether or not that's going to negatively impact you. Someone said confidence when it comes to having more cellulite than your friends at a beach, for example. I get that. Like, I've been in situations where everyone around me has been, you know, much smaller than me in their bikini, and I've always been like, oh, but I've just, over the year, it is something that comes and goes, and it's something that takes time. You will not wake up one day and say, I'm body positive, I love myself, I'm content. Like, that's just not how it's going to work. I wish there was a magic potion, but there's not. It's a journey. I hate to use the cringy word, but it is a journey. And I also think, like, these little marks and things that you have on your body are also, like, I've read this quote once, and it's like, it shows like the life you've lived. You know, like, I read a passage about somebody with their stretch marks, then they'd had a baby, and they were like, I've learned to love them because if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't have my baby. And it's like, almost like, you know, a diary. Your body is almost a diary, and these little markings and marks and scars and cellulite and like maybe little moles and beauty spots or whatever stretch marks are just little examples of a life you've lived, you know. Also, cellulite is a normal thing. Most people have it. If they don't, they've probably used a little bit of retouch on Facetune. Like, you know, everyone has it, so please don't feel negative about that. It's such a, like, normal thing. One of the most asked questions that I get all the time, and I have spoken about a lot, but I do feel like I just want to touch on it briefly. Do you find it hard not to compare yourself or to others on Instagram? I think everyone just by nature kind of, like, I don't know if it necessarily compares, but definitely is like, oh, I wouldn't mind looking like that, or wow, they look cute, and da-da-da. And it's just learning when that kind of goes into, like, maybe a toxic narrative. There's a difference between an admiration and then actual comparison, or like envy, or those kinds of really negative things. I'm a big defender of Instagram. I feel like it gets a lot of heat for being this app that encourages, you know, comparison and like negative, you know, images and blah 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 blah. But I also think it's an amazing thing because it's actually, you know, a platform where you can choose what you see. So your feed can be filled with amazing positive things and great images and all of that stuff, depending on who you choose to follow. So essentially it kind of comes down to you as an individual being responsible for what you select to see on your feed. And I think that can also be a really good thing. So maybe have a bit of a cull, maybe go through your Instagram and think, are they bringing something good to my life? Do I need to see their images? And go about it like that. And like I've said earlier, this is so individual. Some people cannot be bothered about that stuff at all. It cannot affect them in any way, and then for other people it can be really detrimental. So it just depends on your personality. I've also had a comment that's like, any pressures to gain or lose weight since you've gained more followers? I actually have to say yes. I never thought this would happen, but I definitely have noticed that kind of creep more into the forefront of my mind. I think that's just because I'm so accustomed to seeing girls a lot of the time that are a lot smaller than me on these platforms. So, you know, the more you grow, the more you are probably susceptible to seeing that, and the more you kind of feel like you're obviously more of the bigger one. I actually had an incident recently. It's not an incident, but I had an experience recently where I was on a group with quite a lot of girls, all of which are a smaller size to me. I think there was about 10 of us on the group, 8 to 10 of us, and somebody was ordering us something and they needed to know our size, and everyone had replied before I'd had a minute to reply because I just hadn't been on my phone yet, and everyone was writing, you know, I want them in a size 6, size 8, size 8, size 6, size 10. And I was like, I have to ask for a size 12. I'm asking for the biggest size out of everyone, and now everybody knows my size. And I think 2 years ago, that would have really stressed me out and made me be like, oh my gosh, oh, like, I'll order them myself. Or I probably would have said something like, oh, can you get a 10? But they probably would have been a little bit too small on me. And that was something that definitely would have probably made me a bit like, oh, I don't know why, but it just would have. I'm just keeping it real. Luckily for me now, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm like, get me a size 12. This bum needs to fit in those shorts. But before, that definitely would have been a bit of a difficult conversation for me to have with a group of girls that, like, some of which I'd never even met, and just revealing my size straight away. Only people that have struggled with their self-esteem or their identity will kind of get that. That's another thing I get a lot of, which is so sweet when I get these comments, but I get it a lot. Like, you must not struggle with self-esteem issues because you look so pretty, which is such a nice comment, you know, thank you for saying that. But yeah, you must not struggle with weight issues because you have such a fab figure, or like just this assumption that like you would never ever struggle because of how you look. I think if I applied that to everyone, then I would think that like a lot of women in the world have never had difficulties or insecurities. I think what we forget is that everybody's problems are relative and individual. So even though to us, you know, we might look at somebody online and be like, oh, they must never struggle, they must have no issues. We don't know what it's like to live in that skin. We don't know what it's like to have that life. It's unfair to kind of say like, you must never struggle, because we don't really know unless we are that individual. And I think it is something that everybody kind of experiences. It's just not really something that's talked about that much on social media, unless you are like, I feel like a plus size spokeswoman, then it's not really a conversation that a lot of girls have. But I think all of us have those difficulties and struggles, and all of us should feel open to talk about them. So that is all that I'm going to talk about today. There is so much more we could talk about on this topic, and I want to, and this is just the start of a very long probably series or conversation. Yeah, definitely drop me a comment below. Let me know what else you would like me to discuss on this channel, if there's any topics in particular, or maybe if there's anyone you kind of want to come on and we can talk together about a lot of these things. I think that could be really quite refreshing, and something a little bit different. So please let me know your thoughts below. Really enjoyed doing this just chilled out, sit down, Q&A style video, and kind of like ramble and rant. I feel like it's a good kind of place to start. Like I said, I will be linking some of my other videos below which kind of unpack a lot of these issues maybe in a little bit more detail. I'm also going to leave some of my favourite Instagrammers and YouTubers and all of that good stuff in the description box below. I hope I answered your question in one way or another. I had a lot of them kind of just rephrased in different ways, so hopefully I've answered everybody's questions. But if you feel like there's anything that you want me to talk about further, please leave a comment below. I'm always down there replying to you guys' comments, and I see every single one as well. Like I said, please check me out on Instagram, subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.